Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Valerie Rose Show. I'm your host, Valerie Rose, and today's episode is going to be all about how mujeres can build what they actually want. And I'm going to be doing that today with an amazing experienced Latina guest. She is a strategic life and business coach with 16 years of experience helping Latina women step into confidence, clarity, and aligned action. She's the founder of Worthy of Big Collective and several transformational programs that guide mujeres into creating more time, more money, and more impact. She also has her own podcast, which she hosts, called the Yes Mujer Build It. She's coached thousands, including CEOs, public leaders, and is dedicated to elevating the Latina experience through mindset, being, work, and strategy. Help me welcome Wendy Amara.
Thank you so much for having me, Valerie. I'm so excited to be here with you and energized about our conversation today.
Awesome. I know. Thank you so much for coming down here. I truly appreciate it. And I'm very excited to learn your tips, techniques, experience. But I'd love to first start off with how did you decide to become a Latina life and business coach?
Yeah, well, the journey has been a long one. That was not the immediate thought I had. I am the daughter of immigrants. My parents are from Guatemala, so I'm first generation. And when they came here, they really instilled in me the importance of education. So they were like, you got to go to a good college, you got to get a good degree, and then you're going to have a good stable job that's going to bring in, consistent money for your life. And then you'll have things like health insurance. So I did all that. I went and got a degree at UCLA. I got a master's degree in urban planning. And I did this whole follow the path that we've been taught. And throughout my time in college and then afterwards, even once I got my dream job, I was still struggling with anxiety. I was struggling with depression. At the time, I had undiagnosed ADHD. Okay. And it just wasn't working out for me, even though on paper I looked really good. Like I had everything that I was supposed to have for a happy life. But there was some part of me that was like, I'm still feeling like something is missing in my life. And I don't want to be working so many hours and making very little money. I was working in the nonprofit world. Anyhow, so I ended up searching for something that would help me in my life. And through that process of searching, I tried therapy. I was on medication at one point. I was trying a bunch of different things. And the thing that really stuck with me was transformational coaching. Okay. That's what completely changed my life. It opened my eyes up to a whole nother philosophy and way to look at life and also live from. So then I started to implement all of those tools that I learned through transformational work and fell in love with coaching and decided this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Oh my goodness, that sounds so beautiful. And even as you say it, there's so much love and passion.
There is. I'm so grateful for transformational work, especially right now. Coaching is literally what has saved me through everything that's happened in my life and all the things that I witness outside in our world, because we're living in such a challenging world right now where things are changing rapidly, quickly. I call it the horizontal and the vertical. The vertical is like your relationship with yourself and what's happening internally, and your relationship with the quantum field or the expansion of who you are, your future self. And the horizontal is everything that we see happening in day-to-day life that is like the news and your to-do list and getting your kids to school on time and feeding yourself breakfast and all of those things that we have to keep track of. It's the doingness in life. So there's a lot happening in the horizontal right now, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And in regards to the horizontal, how would you say that you've been feeling towards it personally and how it's impacted you, especially being the daughter of immigrants? You focus on the Latina coaching, and you being a Latina yourself, it's highly impacted our community.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have seen some of my clients be devastated from what's happening. There's been so many cuts to diversity and inclusion work that literally organizations that were around a year ago are no longer around. People have lost jobs. Funding has been cut for a lot of the programs that my clients work in or serve the community with. And I've also witnessed people self-deport. I've had 3 clients self-deport themselves. They've just chosen to get out of the country because they're so scared that ICE might show up. And these are people that have been here for years. Some of them are DACA recipients. Some of them have green cards even and have gone through a process. but there's such fear in the community that they're like, oh, I'd rather go back to wherever they were born. 2 of them in Canada. They're not even from a Latin American country. They just happen to have been born in Canada. So it's definitely devastated our community. How I feel about it, I feel like this is a time where Latinas especially need to unite.
Yes.
This is our time. This is happening in the horizontal so that we can spend more time in the vertical, which is where the answers are. And this is our time to really gather together, bring ourselves together, use the passion and love that we have for our community to elevate our people. And I think 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 years from now, we'll look back at this time and be like, this was a time when we actually stepped up. You know, it's like when the storm shows up, you actually find your footing, or you have to find your ground and how you can stay grounded, rooted through the chaos that's happening around you. So in some ways, there's a part of me that's like excited for what's going to come because more people are waking up.
Right.
More people are realizing, you were right, Wendy. I probably shouldn't have voted for this administration. But through the darkness comes more light.
Absolutely.
And with that light, I think we're actually going to elevate our communities.
And I love that you mentioned that because it is so sad to see, and I'm sure you've experienced this because of how connected you are. I've noticed, Wendy, a lot of different life coaches and other people that are in leadership positions, and they're all about empowerment. But when it's come to this time, there's crickets. So I would love to know how you see that, because I know I felt like, damn, this is what you're about. You help people. This is what you portray to be. But when push comes to shove and the challenging times come, you decide not to step up. And I don't want to be judgmental about it, because I know that there's people that they do what they do for whatever reasons, because they're scared. They're not as courageous as you and I. And I know that in my moment of speaking up, a lot of it came from you, from Empowered with Gina, from Doctora Yanira Hernandez from Palante Therapy, and just seeing like, you know what, screw it. Lose the money, lose the partnerships, because what truly matters is standing up for what's right. So I would love to know what you have to say to those coaches and those Latino and Latina leaders in positions of leadership that aren't saying anything and choose to stay quiet.
Great question. You know, when it first started to happen, when I first noticed that there were a lot of Latina leaders and people who call themselves coaches and they weren't saying anything, I was surprised also. I was like, this is the time for people to speak up. Why would you stay quiet, especially when you call yourself a leader for the Latino, Latinx, Latina community? But then I started to realize that during times of crisis, our nervous systems are deregulated, right? And people have different reactions when your nervous system is deregulated. When you feel like you're under attack, some people go to fight, flight, right? And some people go to freeze mode. And I actually think that there's a lot of Latina leaders that are currently in freeze mode. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to say because there's fear around, am I going to lose clients? Am I going to lose sponsorship? I have witnessed, though, through the last couple of months, especially with what ICE has been doing in the last few months, that the escalation of ICE has caused people to come out and say more and be willing to risk more sponsorship. Yeah. So for some people, I get that they're in freeze mode. And for some people, I think they're so inundated and overwhelmed that they don't know how to speak up. But one of the things I've learned through practicing transformational work is the importance of building a courage muscle. And building a muscle of honesty with yourself. What do I really feel? What's at my core? I practice something called being work. Being work is all about full transformation and transparency with yourself. It's about honesty. It's about being raw and real with people, because people can read BS, right? So you need to be raw and real. And from that place in terms of transformation, then 100% you have to be honest with yourself about what is really important. What are your values? Because people who talk about like, oh, well, I don't get involved with politics. Yeah, that's when politics was like, oh, you know, are we going to fund this program or that program? Now we're living in a society where there is legitimate fear. People are walking around with fear that they're going to get taken. I mean, I'm scared that my dad's going to decide to like mow the lawn and somebody's going to hear him speak Spanish with an accent. And next thing you know, somebody's going to pull up and be like, oh, señor, where were you born? And my dad's going to be like, Guatemala, even though he's a citizen. He's been a citizen for 25 years, and they're just going to take him. because they're taking people who are US citizens. I
Right.
don't know if people know how bad it is in our communities, like the amount of PTSD
Right.
that we're experiencing. Also, if you're an awake human being, you understand that there is a narcissist as a president.
Right.
So we're literally all experiencing right now what it's like to be in relationship to a narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have to be awake enough to experience that. One of the things that I'm going through is the reality check that most people aren't awake.
Mm-hmm.
They're numbed out to the reality. So they're just like, I just want to live my comfortable life, Wendy, and, watch my football game
Yeah.
and stay kind of blind to the reality of what's happening because it doesn't really affect me until it does affect them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is so true. And I love that you shed clarity on that because it opens a different perspective. Because I didn't even think about the fight, flight, or freeze mode when trying to understand, like, why are these people not standing up? And one of my favorite quotes from Martin Luther King is injustice anywhere threatens justice everywhere. And as you mentioned, people don't let it affect them or they think it doesn't affect them. But I always say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, because it's already happening now. And we're seeing firsthand. First, it's like it happened with the Black community, then it happened with our Latino community. And now it's extending to even with Renee Good, who was a white American woman. And there's just other immigrants that they're targeting from like Ireland and different places. So not only now was it skin color, it's if you just don't abide by what it is that they agree with. And I totally relate to the fear that you're talking about because even us being brown, I'm like, shoot, like we know we're from here, but we're brown and we can be targeted just because wrong place, wrong time.
Oh,
Wrong
yeah. I know
person sees
somebody
us.
that was at a car wash just washing their car, and ICE showed up and
Mhm.
randled everybody up or grabbed everybody. And because he looked the way he looked, he got taken.
Yeah.
And he was saying, I'm an American citizen, I'm an American
Yeah.
citizen. And then ended up getting released 48 hours later. But that was a very traumatic experience for him. And what about all the other people that didn't get
Right,
released?
exactly.
Yeah.
And it is a big effect on the nervous system because I know I've experienced it myself where recently I went to the Civic Center in the Orange County area and I had like just some business matters to tend to. And before getting there, the previous day, I was doom scrolling, which I know is not a good thing, but I got looped in this doom scroll of like 3 hours, Wendy, looking at all the things that were going on. And I saw so many videos that were happening in that area. And I'm like, shit, I'm going to be there tomorrow. But I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to be courageous. I'm going to handle my business because as much as we're fearful, we don't want to stop our lives for the people that are harming it and affecting us. So as I was trying to train my mind to be okay, my body knew like, girl, you're not okay. Like, stop trying to make it seem like you are okay. Because as I got closer to the building, I started getting like the shakes. I felt like I kind of wanted to throw up. I was getting a
Oh,
headache. And I'm like, why am I feeling like this? And I was like, well, because of the different times, like seeing vehicles that they look like they were ICE vehicles. I'm like, are they ICE vehicles? Are they probation vehicles? I'm brown. I'm here.
right.
Like, this was a hot spot last night. So I experienced that fear. Where did you have any moments that you've experienced a hit to your nervous system?
Well, yes. Speaking of a hit to my nervous system, the shirt you're wearing
Oh, yes,
was a
let's go to
moment in
that
my life
topic.
where I experienced a hit to my nervous system. So once the ice raid started, and this year we've experienced a difference, right, in how
Right.
we're feeling and the reality check. One of my spiritual leaders that I follow, Reverend Michael Beckwith, who I love, he's the leader of a spiritual center called Agape.
Okay.
What he's been saying is, listen, things have always been bad. What's happening now is just the closet that you keep all the junk in is getting cleaned out. So all the stuff that used to be in the back is now getting put in the living room so everyone can see it. But this stuff has always been here, right? Racism,
Yeah.
racism has always been here. Anti-immigrant rhetoric has always been here. Uh, we're just seeing it now clearly with our eyes. One of the things that I did is start wearing t-shirts like what you're
Mhm.
wearing. And I live in a very privileged area, in a neighborhood where, let's say, there's more white people than there is brown people,
Mhm.
or there's a certain mindset, right? So with my husband's family, I ended up wearing that shirt
Yep.
to a barbecue. It was like last year, and actually got told that the shirt was inappropriate for the barbecue, that I was bringing hatred into their house, that basically got scolded. I felt like a 16-year-old getting scolded for wearing something inappropriate. But these are my thoughts, these are my beliefs. And felt like they were asking me to take off the shirt,
Mhm.
which for me was like taking off my skin.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I don't think you understand what's really happening. I was blind to the fact that they were living in such a bubble that they didn't see the reality of what is happening. And also, I'm aware now, having practiced as a coach for so many years, that part of my work as a coach is to wake people up, which means I'm also an interruption in your happy little go life, like your happy go lucky life, your life of just, oh, let me just be, entertainment and let me live my regular life. I'm going to be an interruption in that. And that pisses people off.
It does, because it gives them a reality check that they're like, I knew it was there, but I do not want to hear it and I don't need it right now.
Right, exactly. So anyways, that whole incident caused a lot of chaos. I ended up leaving, feeling like they had kicked me out because they had told me what they had about the shirt. It caused issues between me and my husband because he didn't leave with me. So in terms of who supports what I stand for, right? And I realized for the first time, I think within that family, that they don't really support who I am and what I'm about. And that your shirt, immigrants are not criminals, but the president is a stand for what I really believe and what is true right now. Yeah, we're not dealing in normal times anymore where politics is like, oh, let's decide what color we're going to paint this wall. There's a fire that's burning half the house down. And people aren't willing to acknowledge it because it's not burning their half of the house down.
Right.
But it will.
Yeah, eventually
it will. It will. Yeah.
And I like that you mentioned, I know a lot of people are afraid of the politics, and I think a lot of it is because they don't understand or they don't take the time to figure out what it is that they need to learn to make their point valid and their vote valid. But this goes beyond politics. It's not about the left, the right, the middle. Now it's about humanity at large being affected. And in regards to that situation that you experienced at your family barbecue, you recorded that very vulnerable, real, raw, authentic video. And that's what you're about, being honest. And I admire that because I think sometimes as professionals and coaches, we feel like maybe we shouldn't share that part with people because we're professionals, but it's the human in us that creates that relatability because so many people were feeling that.
Oh, yeah.
So how were you feeling when you were recording that video?
I've learned enough through transformational work to know that there are moments in life that are those forks in the road where you either get to be courageous and take a stand for what you really believe in, or you can go back into the box. And sometimes the box is the comfort box. Sometimes it's the fear box, but I've done enough work on myself to know that, oh, this is one of those moments and I have to capture this, right? Because also I have an audience that I knew could relate to this. So my intuition was telling me, if it's happening in your family, Wendy, it's probably happening in hundreds of thousands of families and hundreds of thousands of barbecues across the nation. Let's record this now. And I did it while I was still in the moment of like, I just walked out. I was feeling so hurt because I've been part of this family for so long. And for them to not tolerate a little bit of what I was feeling in that moment, to have some love and compassion and not have any sort of grace for what I was feeling was really hurtful. Anyways, it obviously touched a chord and it did some amazing work in terms of out in the world. It got me some visibility and people related to it. It's really transformational work that had me record that video, the work that I've done on myself, because then it became also the capacity to hold all of those comments, all of that attention for about a month and a half. There was so much attention, so many messages, positive and negative, right? People had, a lot of different opinions about it. Some people were like, yes, go Wendy. And some people were like, why would you wear that? Knowing that they believe what they believe. So it both ends. I'm proud of it because it sparked the conversation. I think it's important to spark the conversation and transformational work, what I practice, which is distinct from what I would call traditional leadership coaching, because I think there's a lot of leadership coaches out there and programs, but they all are still in this realm of what I call the horizontal. Real vertical work is meant to be uncomfortable.
Right.
It's not supposed to be easy or like something that you can just fit into your schedule. Like when somebody tells me, oh, I'm just too busy. My schedule's too packed for coaching right now, Wendy. I can't join Inspired Action or my mastermind. I'm like, girl, that's why you need it, because it's supposed to be not fitting into your schedule, right? Something that is inconvenient.
Right.
That's what rocks your world and opens you up to a new way of thinking about time, for example, a new relationship with time.
Right.
So it's supposed to be something that makes you feel uncomfortable, and people avoid that at all costs because we live in a comfort society.
Right. And when things are comfortable, well, they don't want to step into that realm of uncomfortability because it also requires a lot of work, a lot of internal work. And
Yes.
that's when the mental, like the emotions come up, like the physical body starts feeling it. You start to question everything around you and what you're doing. So it's really like a discombobulation of your whole life and being.
Yes, it is a discombobulation.
Mm.
And that's why I think you need support. That's why I
Right.
think we need to work in groups. I'm a big proponent of coaching, especially for women
Yeah.
of color in groups,
Mhm.
Latinas in groups. I think we heal by witnessing each other's growth,
Yeah.
by creating safe spaces to be really honest and vulnerable.
Mhm.
And in my coaching programs, we have everything from like stay-at-home moms to I have a physician this year that I'm coaching, a
Oh,
Latina
nice.
physician, and a couple of PhD professors actually that work at universities, and then students and everything in between, right? You don't have to have a big job or big title
Yeah.
because behind the scene, we're all the same.
Right.
We all have similar fears. It doesn't matter how much is in your bank account.
Yeah.
You're still scared that one day you're going to be poor.
Mhm.
There's a lot of the same thoughts that we've been raised with as first gen, that we're not enough, that we have to work harder than everybody else,
Yep.
or that the only way to succeed is through hustle,
Right.
for example.
And thanks for peeling the layer on the positionality of things because sometimes people do think like, oh, well, if they're a doctor or they're a teacher, well, they're doing very well, like internally and externally. But I love how you peel that layer back and say, aside from positions and titles and materialistic things, we all feel the same feelings in different capacities. So with your group coaching, what does that look like?
Yeah, so my main group coaching program, that is the introduction to
Mhm.
transformational work, where I teach something called being work, is called inspired action.
Okay.
And it's about taking consistent action.
Mhm.
Being work is about learning that there is more to life than just what you see on the outside.
Right.
That the real game is your relationship with yourself
Mhm.
and what is happening internally. So, what I call your way of being is your thoughts,
Mhm.
your feelings, your beliefs, especially your beliefs about yourself,
Mhm.
your intentions, and your frequency of vibration. The
Ooh.
combination of all five of those is who you're being out in the world all the
Mhm.
time. Now, frequency of vibration, like the Reiki healers all get that. The
Mhm.
people who are healers and are listening to that. But most people are like, what is she talking about?
Mhm.
Frequency of vibration. So I say, let's just start with your thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the main thought you think of most of the time? When I ask you, who are you? What's the first thing that comes up, right? That has to do with your identity.
Yeah.
What is your belief about yourself? What is your belief about your ability to reach a particular goal, let's say, for example? Feelings. What's the main feeling you're in most of the time?
Right.
Can you actually get yourself to shift into a particular feeling? So if you wanted to feel courageous in this moment, do you know how to do that? Do you know how to access courage inside of you? And that's what I teach. I teach methodologies or tools for being able to access that and to learn and to practice being work, because everything starts with who you're being first.
Absolutely.
Everything starts with your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings, what's happening internally. And then from that vertical place, you affect
Mhm.
the reality of your life.
Yeah.
Making more money, buying your dream house, having the family you want. All of those are outside circumstances that are created based on who you're being.
Right.
So we teach being work first,
Mhm.
and then we hold you accountable to actually following through with your goals. So you set goals for yourself. We set monthly goals, we set weekly goals. And through the accountability in a very loving space, and this is one of my favorite things about transformation, is that I could build a business
Mhm.
with love infused in it, right? I
Mhm.
remember when I used to work for companies, because I did consulting work for big companies
Okay.
and tech companies and some of the big gurus in the coaching world.
Mhm.
And when I worked for them, I would respond to my emails with love, Wendy. And they would tell me, you can't do that, Wendy. You can't say love, Wendy,
What?
because it was too, it wasn't professional enough.
Okay, wow. I would have never even thought that.
And I'm like, wait, no. They're like, well, you could say warmly, you could say other
Mhm.
things, but love is too personal. You're getting too
Mhm.
personal. And I remember thinking, there will be a day and time where I have a successful enough business that I can do whatever the F I want to
Yeah.
do. And therefore, I will respond with, I love you. And I
Yeah.
say, con mucho cariño, I
Mhm.
love you guys so much. Like, that's how I respond to my
Yeah.
clients.
Mhm.
And I think you can infuse love into everything we
Yeah,
do. So
absolutely.
accountability. accountability with love. That was my point. Accountability with love, I think, is really important for coaching practices. And we do that in
Absolutely.
inspired action.
Okay, that is very well said. And it reminds me how you get someone to get that clarity within themselves and what they want to do and who they want to be to then take those actionable steps to achieve those goals and then have that accountability. So now that you've shared your coaching programs and your insight, what does your dream client look like? So if someone's watching this and they're like, her coaching's for me, aside from hearing what it is that you're saying, what does your dream client look like? Or who are the typical clients that you serve?
So I serve Latinas primarily of all ages,
Okay.
anywhere from 25 to, I think my oldest client right now is 70.
Wow,
I
nice.
know, right? So 25 to 70. Most of my clients tend to be in their 30s and
Mhm.
40s and are either going through some sort of transition
Okay.
or have had some sort of wake up call in their life where maybe, like me, they look good on paper, like
Mhm.
they had done everything. Maybe they have a good job, but there's something in their life that they're like, this can't be the whole thing.
Right.
There's something missing and they're ready for what's next and they don't know how to get there. So, what I say to most women is you have to have a goal that you
Mhm.
really want to achieve, even if your goal is clarity,
Yeah.
because that could be a goal. Like,
Right.
I want something different, but I don't know what it is, and I need somebody to help me gain clarity.
Mhm.
That's one type of client that I love to work with.
Okay.
The other type of client is a client who's like, yeah, no, I'm clear. I want to double my income. I want to build a new business. I want to get something off the ground. Maybe they have a project like a podcast
Yeah.
or something that they want to get off the ground, or
Mhm.
they want to expand or scale their business. And they have very tangible KPIs or tangible goals that we
Mhm.
can measure. I love working with those clients too, because it doesn't matter what your goal is. Like if it's losing weight or if it's making more money, the main component to reaching any goal is the vertical. It's your relationship with yourself. It's learning things like belief work, which is
Mhm.
something that I teach. It's really becoming the person who hits the goal.
Right.
And then we also work on strategy. I do teach methodologies for sales. So
Mhm.
I'm a sales expert, which is something that's challenging for a lot of women of
Yeah.
color, how to sell themselves,
Yeah.
especially like in the coaching
Yeah.
world,
And
right?
even being confident, like doing it, not getting like that imposter syndrome to ask for what you feel like you want to
Yeah.
make and deserve and earn.
Yes, visibility is a
Mhm.
big one. That's a big challenge for a lot of people. That's also an inner game, right? You
Mhm.
you get to learn to tap into your passion,
Right.
your vision for what you want, and then that fuels your courage to
Mhm.
be able to go out and speak to more people or post or go live on IG or whatever.
Mhm.
So yeah, visibility is definitely one of the things that I work on also.
That's amazing. And I love how you keep it very open to beginner people that are barely seeking clarity and personal development to someone that is already in that point of clarity but ready to take it to the next level. So it's very inclusive and very welcoming to anyone and everyone, like at every level of their life coaching journey.
Yeah, and I do have a mastermind that's a
Mhm.
higher level program where I
Okay.
choose about 10 Latinas. You have to apply for it and
Mhm.
go through a process. But if you work with me, we work together for 6 months and we create a very clear action plan.
Okay.
And so that includes more strategy. And
Mhm.
usually that's a group that understands being work.
Right.
So they get the internal transformation that needs
Mhm.
to happen. And then we work more on, okay, what are the results? How much by when are you going to hit this goal? There's higher levels of accountability, and I do some more strategy around something I teach called enrollment, which is sales, and a couple of other tools that I go into more depth. Because there was a time when I did straight up just business coaching, right?
Okay. And that was like more one on one, or was that group coaching as well?
That was more one on one. I was a one on one coach for a long time, and I could really look at somebody's business and figure out, okay, here are the gaps.
Okay.
Here's where you're losing money. Here's what you could be doing from a higher standard. But I realized there's other people out there that can do business coaching.
Mhm.
There's no one out there like me that can do transformational coaching.
Mhm.
So as I started to witness more and more the gap in the transformational space, because even when I worked with people just on business or leadership, what it came down to at the end of the day was how they were feeling about themselves.
Right.
Some of my clients hit all their goals, but were exhausted,
Mhm.
felt overwhelmed, were dealing with anxiety, were dealing with depression. So I was like, wait a minute. It's not just about hitting goals. I can teach people the strategy or this horizontal space,
Mhm.
the actions they need to take. It's not about the information. It's not even about the motivation, because there was a time also where I felt like I was a very motivating coach,
Mhm.
an inspirational coach, and I
Yeah.
shared my story a lot and I
Mhm.
spoke on stages and really inspired people.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love inspiration. I love motivation. I even love giving really great tools like information.
Yeah.
But what lights me up and the reason I'm on this planet is transformation. That is different. Transformation is an experience that doesn't just happen in the brain, it happens in the body, and it wakes people up
Right.
to who we really are. And as Latinas, for me, we already are geniuses. We have so much wisdom right under the ground because of our ancestors, and so much wisdom in our body, in our cells, epigenetics, right? We come with more than just who we are right now. And tapping into that genius, that is the key to transformational work with Latinas. And that's the work that I'm committed to doing on the planet.
I love that. Everything you said is so motivational and inspirational, and embodying and prioritizing the word transformation, because I believe that it's something that we live with for the rest of our life because it ties into change, and things are constantly changing, whether it's the exterior world, the horizontal as you speak of, and then the change vertically, where we're constantly changing the way we believe in something, the goals that we have, and it's just like an ever evolving word.
Yes. So I actually have a distinction between the word change and transformation.
Okay.
I see them as different. Yeah. Change for me happens oftentimes in the horizontal.
Yeah.
And people are looking for change. They think they're looking for change, but
Okay.
really what they're looking for is transformation, right?
Mhm.
So, for example, somebody will come to me and they'll say something like, I really want to, this is a recent example. I want to stop having these 3 jobs.
Okay.
I want to just get down to 1 job and have time to spend with my kids, right? For example. Okay, that's a change that they're wanting. They're looking at it from the perspective of, okay, we just need to figure out which of these jobs I'm going to let go and then how I'm going to make more money in the other jobs or in one of the other jobs so I can cover the expenses of this other job. That's all strategy, right? That's all coming from this same zone. Change oftentimes is like, okay, this outfit isn't working anymore. I'm going to take off this outfit. I'm going to put on a new outfit. Okay. Transformation is, hold on, wait, let's take a pause. And what's really important to you? Why do you want to be home with your kids? Why do you want to narrow down to 1 job? And out of the 3 jobs, what is the job that most energizes you, that most gives, like, makes you feel alive? Not just which one makes the most amount of money. It's not just about figuring out the money. It's the internal, like, how are you looking at yourself and how do you identify with yourself? What is the belief you have? Anyway, so we do some internal work. And when that happens, it's not the clothes you're putting on that changes. It's your body that changes. So I want you to see the distinction, right, between transformation and change. Change is, I want a new outfit. Transformation is, it's a new body that we're dealing with. It's a new way of looking at things. Change is kind of like if I had an apartment on the 8th floor and we changed the furniture on the 8th floor. Transformation is, we're going to go from the 8th floor to the 88th floor. Now the whole apartment is different. Yeah. The walls are different. The view from the 88th floor is different than the view from the 8th floor, right? Yeah. That's the distinction between transformation and change. There is a slight difference in that it's an internal outward look of like, whoa, everything's changed. That's what I do for my clients. That is like worth more than any like strategy I could ever give you. In fact, AI will give you strategy now.
And it's not like personal. And I think that's what's awesome about life coaching as well, is even as the technology advances, people are still going to want that human and personable connection that AI won't give, even though you can feed it so much information. It's like giving you information, not just for you, but pulling from what everyone else asked and giving it to you because it relates.
100%. I think transformational work, what we do, is going to become even more needed in society because AI can't do it. Exactly what you just said. The human component. Yeah.
Wendy, you're such a badass.
Oh.
You have sold me. Like, I've never thought of getting a life coach for myself. I say that my life coach is my partner because he's a very wise man. He's very emotionally intelligent and has gone through a lot of things in life and created so much transformation and change. He's not a like official life coach or anything, but but he's a very powerful servant leader in his position. He works for the Los Angeles Water and Power company, and he's just really awesome human being. So I tell him, you know what, you're my life coach because I learned from you like all experience and emotional intelligence, and you give me good advice. And I know you say it because you love me too, but hearing everything that you're saying, I'm like, damn, Wendy, I need you to be my coach someday for sure. So thank you for sharing all of this powerful information. And I'm curious to know, since you're very big on community, and we know that community really helps us with our growth. When you're having your group coaching programs and these women are sharing their goals all together, how do they support one another and just make each other feel confident and empowered? Because it can be a scary thing sometimes, right? Where someone is sharing a goal and they're like, oh my gosh, now I put it out there. Everyone knows.
Yeah, they don't just put it out there, we document it.
Okay.
There's a thing called a goal sheet where you have to put your goal inside the goal sheet so it's written out, right?
Okay.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. One of the things that I work really hard on, and so same thing with my ambassador coaches, because I have
Mhm.
people supporting the space, is building trust. And trust ultimately is about self-trust and our abilities to handle and manage whatever could happen around us. So building our emotional capacity to
Mhm.
hold
Yeah.
and hold each other and witness each other. But one of the magical things that happens every time as a new person comes in is they start to see. This doesn't happen with everyone, but I would say 90% of people
Almost
that come in,
everyone.
almost everyone. There are some people that come in and they're like, whoa.
Mhm.
But 90% of people come in and start to experience, oh, something's happening here. Because the calls, when we do our coaching calls, they're happening in the vertical. They're not just about even though you're in your day-to-day life and
Mhm.
you're like, I'm late for the call, or I don't know if I can make it, Wendy, or,
Yeah.
texting me with all the circumstances.
Mhm.
But this is a space in transformation where we understand that we're bigger than our circumstances. Our vision for what we're building for our life is bigger than our circumstances. And therefore, we get to show up on our call and be honest, raw, real, vulnerable.
Right.
So I talk about the value of vulnerability and people start to experience it. This
Mhm.
isn't just something I teach because inspired action is actually a year commitment. It's something you learn over time through practice. You start to experience in your
Mhm.
body, and literally your cells start to realign themselves to the belief vulnerability is powerful. And that, yes, I can trust the space and I can trust myself
Right.
enough to handle whatever gets done in the space.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned it's a year because that's just constant commitment and consistency to building upon that transformation and the different beliefs and working towards one goals.
Let me tell you why it's a year, because
Yes.
what people don't talk to you about in terms of transformation is they talk about learning tools like Be, Do, Have. That's one of the tools that I teach, or belief work.
Mhm.
And we learn these tools, but learning them intellectually is not enough. You have to practice it day in and day out until it
Right.
becomes part of your life.
Mhm.
When you're practicing it day in and day out, that's when the transformation becomes obvious to everyone around you.
Yep.
And you're actually vibrating at that different frequency.
Mhm.
You're able to create things out of nothing. You're just able to think about something, say it out loud, and then it becomes true
Right.
because you've built a relationship with the value of your word. That takes time. Just like going to a gym, I call it your transformational biceps. You
Mhm.
got to build the biceps. You got to work out every week over and over and over again until you're like, oh, I could do this workout in my sleep. Like I could do
Right.
it with my eyes closed because I know
Mhm.
it so internally. That's the gift of transformation, but also the challenge because it takes time. And we live in a society that wants everything quick, fast, and easy. Value of community. It's imperative to do this work in community. It's so important. I used to do one-on-one coaching for a
Yeah.
long time. I was a one-on-one coach
So
and
do you not do it now?
I still do it
Okay.
now, but it's rare.
Got it.
I only take on like 4 or 5 clients at a time. I don't really open it up to the general public. I did that once and I ended up with like 30 private clients.
That's a lot.
And I was like, what am I doing? That's a lot of coaching every week, like
Mhm.
30 hours of coaching every week. I love one-on-one work and I still do practice it.
Mhm.
But the value of community work, I think as women of color, we're meant to do this work in community.
Yeah.
Because what happens when we witness each other, be vulnerable, trust each other, be able to dig in deep and be courageous to say the thing you've been thinking about, but you can't say out loud, the thing you really want for your
Mhm.
life, right?
Right.
And then you have a group of women with no judgment. That's one thing in my groups. There's no judgment. There's none of this like, oh, you're cuter than me. That's not even in the space.
Mhm.
Somebody once asked me when I was interviewing them for a position in the mastermind, like
Okay.
you have to apply and I do interviews.
Mhm.
And she asked, well, what's your conflict resolution system or plan or policy? And I was like, we don't have one because there really isn't this conflict between each other. We create a space. I create a space where everyone is in their heart, where everyone takes a step forward to trust each other, where there is love in the space, where we're taking courageous action, and we actually start to see each other as sisters in this work. Like we're supporting each other and holding space for each other in such a loving space. People have become best friends in my group. They've come out in each other's weddings. The networking is so powerful. Just people coming together and then staying together in each other's lives. So yes to community. Yes to being vulnerable in community. That's a power move, and that leads to so much transformation.
Yeah, that coaching program definitely. Well, all of your programs sound very transformational, and it sounds like it's all rooted in love and respect, because love and respect are really big key things to have that harmonious environment for the women. So I absolutely love that. And now, in regards to community that extends outside of your coaching, especially since you've been one to stand up for what's right and everything that's going on, what would you say are some great ways for people to unify in communities to just help take a stand for what it is that's going on?
Yeah. I think first you have to decide, do I want to do anything? Because you don't actually have to do anything, even if that disappoints people around you. Like me, I think of people in my life who've decided they just can't really be involved in it too much. It's too much for them to handle.
Yeah.
So you really have to check in with your own capacity.
Right.
Understanding that you can extend your ability to hold capacity. Like capacity, emotional capacity is something you can grow. So even when you think, oh, there's no way I could handle this. How many of us in our lives have had moments where we've been like, there's no way I could handle something else going wrong, and then something else goes wrong.
And you handle it.
And you handle it. You can actually grow. As human beings, we're able to hold more than we think we can. But the first question you got to ask yourself in terms of what's going on in our community is, do I want to do anything? And if your answer is yes, okay, then what? Because there's so many options, and we need everyone to join in. So you could be somebody who simply talks about what's happening. That's it, like mentions it to somebody, right? I was at the store the other day and somebody asked me, oh, how are you doing, the cashier? And I was like, I'm doing horrible. My neighbors are getting kidnapped and taken. And I don't know if you saw what happened with the shooting that happened this past weekend. And I brought up what's happening nationally. And they were like, oh no, I haven't been keeping track. Definitely keep track. So that's step one. You can just talk about it or talk about it with a friend, bringing awareness. You can post about it or share information so that people around you are educated on what's happening. You can actually go to a protest march or show up in some capacity to volunteer for some of the organizations that really need help. You can decide to have an economic blackout in your household where you cancel subscriptions to companies that are supporting this administration or are supporting ICE in some way. And you can donate money to organizations that definitely need our help right now. So there's lots of different things you can do. There's people making food and dropping food off for families that do not want to leave their house out of fear that they're going to go to the Vallarta market and ICE is going to show up in the parking lot. So there's lots of things we can do for each other. And lastly, I always remind people of this one because I consider myself an activist and we need support.
Right.
Like if you don't do anything, find somebody who is doing something and just send them a loving message. Hey, I'm here to support you. Just know that I'm watching you and that you are inspiring people, or any sort of love support. Find somebody who is highly involved and do something to support them.
I absolutely love that. And that's a really awesome highlight on community and different ways to contribute. Even when we feel that we're hopeless, there's always something to do. And like you said, it stems from just wanting to do it and deciding what you're going to do. Now, before we get on to like any final messages, what would you say are some tips that you would like to provide the audience on regulating their nervous system during these challenging times?
Woo! Regulating our nervous system. Yeah. I always say go back to the things that are easily accessible to you right now in this moment. So in times when we can't control a lot of things and we feel like we're out of control and there's chaos happening around us, what can you control in this moment? One, you can control your breath, for sure. You can control how you breathe. So just taking a deep breath in and breathing out, just even that, in for 3 seconds, out for 3 seconds, that gets you present to the moment. You can do box breathing, which is 4 in, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. There's lots of different breathing techniques. Another one that I love is putting my hand on my heart. If I put my hand on my heart, one thing that I do have control over and is just happening naturally is my heart is beating. No matter what's happening around me, my heart is still beating. Yeah. And I'm not even having to make it beat, which is nice if you're overwhelmed because you're like, this is something that is not on my to-do list and just happens for me.
Yeah.
So putting your heart on your hand on your heart and feeling your heartbeat really slows you down. One quick one that I like to do when I'm around my kids and I start to feel this like, there's too much going on is I rub my hands together.
You're like,
Rub my hands together and then I just slowly separate them.
okay.
And then I can feel the electricity between my hands, right? So feeling into that electricity between your hands, what that reminds me of and why it helps regulate my nervous system is it brings me back to there's so much happening that I can't even see in the blank space between me and things, that there is this energy field, because I really do believe in the quantum field. Yeah. And this has been scientifically proven now, right? That there is this field of energy that's all around us. Remembering that in that field of energy all around us, there is love, there is possibility, there is more than we could even imagine. So dipping into that calms me because it reminds me, oh yeah, there's something much bigger going on than the little problem I'm seeing right in front of me or the problems we're witnessing in the United States.
Right.
When you go above your head and you go up into the universe and you actually look down at your life from the perspective of if you were standing behind the sun, like a high perspective, right? What does your life really look like? Right. Then what's happening feels really small.
Yeah. It's like a little speck.
Right. It's a little speck in what's happening in terms of the universe and how old the universe is, billions of years. Yeah. So that helps calm my nervous system also.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all of these awesome, actionable, and accessible tips because I know a lot of people, they don't want to step outside right now. So these are things that they can do literally anywhere and everywhere. So thank you so much for that, Coach Wendy. Now, before we move on to any final messages, I like to do something with guests called Elevate in 60. So it's asking you 3 questions and answering each one with under a minute or less. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so I've noticed that your branding is a lot of purple. You wear a lot of purple. So I'm curious, what does the color purple mean to you?
Yeah, purple to me means like royalty or elegance.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was first attracted to it, even though I don't consider myself like a royal, elegant person. But there was an elevation that I felt when I look at the color. And I do think my coaching is an elevation in your life. Yeah. So that's why I'm attracted to it. Yeah.
I love that. Question number 2. How did you come across the brand Mahogany Mommies? Because I learned about it from you.
Yes. Yes. I'm trying to remember. How did I first? I'm sure it was through Instagram. Somebody must have sent me something. One of the things I decided pretty early on with this administration was that one thing I could do is wear T-shirts into public spaces. Like when I was taking my kids to gymnastics and there's just people acting like nothing's going on in the world and everybody's just watching their kid do gymnastics, which is okay. But my purpose is to remind you, no, there is something going on in the world. So I started looking for T-shirts that would say something that it kind of like a silent protest where we're not talking about what's happening politically, but I'm saying something through my shirt. Yes. And actually would get a lot of people saying, I like your shirt. I like your shirt, which is beautiful. So that's how I found out about Mahogany Mommies. Shout out to her and her amazing line and the shirt that you're wearing and the shirt that I wore in the reel that went viral. Yeah, it's amazing work.
Yeah, it's an awesome brand. Lately, when I've been wearing it too, I've been getting compliments and I'm like, mahoganymommies.com. And I'll have to say it again. But it's a very powerful brand. And I would have never learned about it if it wasn't for that video that you posted. So even going back to you mentioning, it's going to get different responses from people. But what matters the most is just like focusing and honing in on the positives. And for me, what I took from that video was she's a badass coach. She is being vulnerable and sharing with us her experience, which is hard to be vulnerable for a lot of people. And she's promoting this brand of positivity and standing up for what's right. So even for those who don't want to voice it, they can voice it by just showing it with the shirts that they're wearing. So that's really amazing. And for my last question is, I'm going to switch it up because you did touch up on how your positive messages for what's going on in the country right now and giving tips and advice for that. So my third question would be, what's a goal that you have for 2026?
Woo, 2026. Something new is emerging in me. I want to take all the anger, passion, fear, love that we're feeling. So many Latinas are waking up to like, what do we do, Wendy? Or what do I do with all these feelings even that I have? I want us to use all of these feelings, passion, love we have for our community to alchemize it into something. I'm not quite sure yet what the something is. I mean, I'm going to continue to coach.
Right.
I'm going to continue to call women into the coaching world and into my community, but I also want to do more partnerships, more collaborations. I think I'm at a place now where I realize that I get to step into more of a leadership role amongst other coaches and amongst other community leaders and collaborators, because I really have built an established business, which means it's not a baby anymore where I need to be feeding it every day. It's actually out there in the world and doing okay, even with this economy. So now it's what's next. How do we alchemize what we're feeling into something that will fuel us and fuel our community in a really positive way?
I love that. I'm excited to see what's in store for all of your new things to come. Now, before we end here, Coach Wendy, do you have any final messages, motivational messages, or anything you'd like to share about any upcoming events you may have? And take it away. Tell the audience.
Yeah, I think one of the things we want to remember is that ultimately you already have all the answers. You know deep down inside what you want to do. You know deep down inside those inner whispers that you have been hearing inside you for a long time. You just need somebody to hold space for you enough and to trust you enough and for you to trust yourself so that you can find those answers and bring them out into the world and then actually follow through with them. That's it. But you're already a genius. You already have so much wisdom inside you. Your ancestors have so much wisdom inside you. And they wanted me to remind you that they have your back 100% and that you're never actually alone. Yeah.
Very inspirational. I love that. I felt that to my core.
Yeah. Can I say a couple of things coming up?
Yeah,
also?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So one, I have a podcast also called Yes Mujer Build It. If you were inspired by any of the tools that I briefly talked about today, in my podcast, I go into more depth about be, do, have, and belief work and a lot of the tools that I have. So please join me on Yes Mujer Build It podcast. And then follow me on at Wendy Amara, because I do have live events coming up. I'm going to be doing more workshops. I do live workshops, and get on my email list because I send out all my freebies through my email list.
Nice. Absolutely. I love all of that information. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here, Coach Wendy. I truly appreciate your wisdom, your grace, and your presence overall. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to look at the description box below to find Coach Wendy Amara's all of her information, whether it's her website, social media platforms, so that you can then further reach out to her to gain some more wisdom and knowledge. Give her a follow, support the work that she is doing. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. But also don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this with someone who is a Latina woman who just wants advice and is feeling the heaviness of the world and just needs a little comfort. So see you in the next video.